on all the platforms. Our mics, here we go. Our mics are good. Awesome. Is your mic on? Why don't you check your mic?
Yeah.
All right,
I am.
here we are. We are ready
What's up, world?
to go. We're ripping through this. We want to welcome you on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Hello. Welcome to our Parenting InstaLive. But listen, you don't even have to be a parent to enjoy what's about to go down tonight.
True.
It's going to be great on multiple levels. We're just excited to be here. A couple things before we get rolling.
Yeah.
Let people come in.
Yep.
Got some housekeeping things.
Yep.
Let's go through the format.
All right.
Want to go through? I should move my. See, this is why I move it all the time.
Yeah. So we have some incredible guests with us that represent all different stages and different dynamics in parenting. We have the Rogers with us. And they'll tell you a little bit more about themselves. We have the Porters, and we have the wonderful Osea. Also in the studio behind the Instagram Live is the one and only Carson. And then, of course, we have our podcast producer, Gordon, doing the switching over there. So thanks to the team for setting this up. We're going to go through, I think, 3 different sections.
Yep.
And we're going to go through what's going to be called the hot seat first, where we're going to put some of our guests in the hot seat. They're going to describe what's unique to them as a family. And then we're going to hit them with a pretty potent question as it pertains to parenting. And we've thought about these couples. We know them well. They're heavily engaged in the church. Both Josh and I have received a lot of wisdom from them. And we're excited to kind of share them with the world in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go through all the portions of the night?
weren't?
I was definitely not paying attention. No, definitely not.
Never listen to me.
No. But that's how. Did you go through the
Why
portions?
don't you just start? Because
Yeah.
I don't know what I missed that you wanted me
Sweet.
to say.
You
just
talked
do
about.
it
I think
all
I
over
heard
again.
hot seat, but then we're
Hot
gonna do the
seat,
lightning round.
describe
This is the most
our
important
guests.
thing. The lightning round.
Talk about
so
the lightning
listen,
round.
you're
As
gonna be
more
watching
people are
this.
coming in.
You're gonna be watching this tonight on any platform, and you're probably gonna have questions. You probably do have questions about parenting. And things of that nature. We want to be to answer all of those questions. So make sure you put it in the chat. Our studio's here. They are going to be in the hot seat a little bit later, and they will be able to answer your questions, as well as the people on the studio with us will be able to answer. Maybe Carson, who's one of our producers tonight, he'll be able to answer some questions because he's a parent.
No, he's not.
I'm just kidding. Gordon just became a parent. He is also running the switcher board. I'm sure he's got so many answers
All the
to the
answers
parenting
already.
questions.
Oh my
So it's going to be great. If you're watching on Instagram, you hit the little question mark box. It helps us to be able to see the questions a lot easier. Otherwise, just put them in the chat. It's a great way to go down, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got a couple of people in the chat that are going to kind of send us some of the questions if they do get lost in the comments. Carrie's in there. Your wife Esther's in there.
Yep.
Your sister's in there.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be great.
yeah, a lot of staff.
Yeah,
in the
sweet.
chat.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Anyway, a couple things we got to talk about, Luke. Just Father's House style things, okay? Just so you know, a couple things coming up.
Yep.
That are very important. August 14th, if you are a young adult watching this thing and you're like, I don't have kids, stick around, because August 14th, we're doing a movie night on the
Don't
front
stick
lawn.
around because we're handing out
Yeah.
kids.
No, we're not. Well, depends on how this night goes. We are doing a movie night on the front lawn at the Chi-Light campus. You are not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Starts at 8 p.m. No matter
Food,
where you're
campfire.
watching from.
It's gonna be
a great time. And then we have our Day of Hope
Yes.
on August 28th. That is basically an all-day event, but it's a couple hours.
Kind of an annual
Yeah,
thing
it's
for
an annual
us.
thing. There's hundreds of people that go
Just
out
to love our city
help
and
our city.
serve and
It's amazing.
with nothing in return.
Yeah.
Just love.
And just we want to welcome a couple people. We've got Pastor Marlise is joining us
All right.
on Instagram. Janine is here. We want to welcome you. Brandon Cole is in the house. Stacy Warren is watching. There are so many people. Let's see. Carlos Vasquez
All right.
is watching.
Carlos, kids director.
Cool.
Emma is here. It's great. So we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. It's gonna be a great time. So
All right,
let's go. Let's do it. You want to get the show on the run?
let's roll.
Eric
man.
wants to get
Okay,
rolling.
it's 8:05.
It's 8:05,
Let's
and
keep it
we've done
moving.
it. We did it. It's 5 minutes.
Great.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
5 minutes. Right?
All right, Luke.
Yes.
First thing.
'Kay.
Okay.
Yes.
I read this book by Andy Stanley. He actually changed the title of this book. It used to be called Choosing to Cheat,
I remember.
and now it is called When Work and Family Collide, which is a much more approachable title, I think.
Yeah, because in recent days that
Yeah.
has a negative connotation.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things that he talks about with cheating is that cheating is actually choosing to give up one thing in hopes of getting something of greater value. It's a really good definition.
Yeah.
He says the phrase, we all wrestle with the tension of work and family. Everyone wrestles with that tension. In fact, when I was like first started working and I was married and I was trying to figure this thing out, I asked my dad, like, Dad, how do I like balance this thing? And he's like, you don't balance it. You got to try to figure out a way to manage it. But there's really no balance. And so basically what Andy Stanley says is like there's this tension. And as a result, we find ourselves in this cycle of guilt, anger, jealousy, and rejection, which unattended, he says those emotions have the potential to erode even the strongest marriages. That's true. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's very true, and I think balance is an illusion.
Yeah.
And if you recall, Pastor Pierre did an incredible message. Remember the giant balance beam that he did way back a few months ago?
Yeah.
And he said there's no really such thing as balance. It's just that the counterbalance is more and more of Christ.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that helps us manage the tension. And it's so true in family because I think it's hilarious when people get married, there's a whole nother level of sacrifice, servanthood, and then you have kids. And then you have another kid. And then you have another kid, and it's less and less freedom, but you're choosing that because of something greater that's going to come as a result. So I love the book, read it a long time ago. Need to reread it, I think.
Yeah. It's a
new stage. It's a new stage in my home, in my kids' age. So.
Yeah. And so to kind of talk about more about this and just other things, because our first guests have some incredible insight on parenting. Yep. They've been through it, not done with it yet.
No.
They're in it. But we want to invite Eric and Dee Rogers to the studio. Could we have a hand in the chat? Put some praise hands up for Eric and Dee Rogers. They are here. Incredible couple. They are on the board of our church, have been involved for how many years have you guys been involved at the Father's House? 11 years.
11 years. 11 blessed years, yes.
That's amazing. What got you to the Father's House?
We were at a former church for 17 years. I started going to church one Sunday. He came with me 6 months later. We stayed for 17 years, really, planted. And the Lord put on Eric's heart that we were going to be going to another church. We didn't understand why. And a year later, walking in here, we realized God always knows.
That's awesome. So what would you say makes your family unique? Give us a little bit of an idea of the Rogers family, age of your kids, some quirks. What's it like?
Quirks is a good word. I would say the humor, lots and lots and lots of humor. Everybody has one-liners to keep the other one laughing. The best times, we're always laughing and building memories. It's not every day, every minute, but our best times, that is what makes us so unique. In restaurants, you would think we were 5 people that got together that hadn't seen each other in a long time. And that's when the kids were younger. We would just sit there laughing at each other.
And how old are your kids?
29, 24, 19.
Wow. And most of them have kind of flown from the nest.
Yes. And I'm so very happy.
Or did you hesitate because they were kicked from
No.
Okay.
One of the things that I think we did collectively is we kind of raised them to be independent, to chase their own dreams. We never, at least I never wanted to put an expectation on them in terms of where they needed to be and where they need to stay and things like that. I mean, one lives in California, one lives in New York City, and the other one lives in Maryland, so to speak. So whatever their dreams were, we really instilled with them to just chase them and go after them. And whatever their passions were, we fed those passions. So I think that's the thing that make us in some ways unique from my perspective, is just watching them blossom and grow and be the people that they desire to be and what they're chasing after. That gives me great joy more than anything else.
And it is amazing to watch because, I've been here for a long time, and I had your kids as youth, and watching them flourish and grow, and under your guidance in your parenting, to see them fly is really incredible. And that dichotomy between chase your passion, but you also got to make money with it. Like you got to make a living that is just a really unique thing to be able to watch, and I'm honored to be a part of it. You know, there's something that Eric, you talk about, if anybody's willing to listen, is you talk about how your role as a parent changes, and you relate it to, I think it's a teacher, a coach, a consultant. And you're in the hot. You guys are in the hot seat.
It's not teacher consultant.
What?
It's not that. Yeah.
It's not.
No, I wrote it wrong, but it's great.
He
what
did
he's
write
about
it
to
wrong.
say. I wrote it wrong.
All right. Can you please correct Pastor
Yeah.
Josh?
You can correct me.
And then give us the
I
Eric
was
Rogers truth.
so close, but what he's about to do to this table is so much better. I can promise you.
Great prep.
Yeah, thanks. So, hit
Well,
us with it.
When you first have children, you know, I think you're in this enamored state and you're just happy, and especially with your first one, you don't know what to do. So we got this kid, and I've never been a parent, so I don't know what being a parent is, and I don't know what being a kid is because I haven't been a kid for a long time. So what we learned was that there was 3 stages of parenting. From the time they arrive here to maybe about 5 or 6, you're a disciplinarian. You're a disciplinarian. And then from the time they're 6.5, 7 to maybe 11, 12 years old, now you are a trainer. And then from 12, 13 years old to the time they're heading off to college, now you're a coach. And then when they become a full-fledged adult, you should be engaged in their life as a trusted advisor.
Should be.
And I think what happens now a little bit in society is we get it all mixed up. We get it mixed up because those critical years of discipline and teaching kids how far to go and what's acceptable and what they need to know about honor and respect and what the expectations are, they get lost. And then if you don't do that, by the time they get 8 or 9, now you want to discipline, but now that's the stage you're supposed to be training them in.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, as I like to say, parents, you cannot be afraid of your children. That's a scary statement. And what I really mean by that, not that you're afraid of your children. What I mean by that is that you're afraid of their response if you discipline them.
Right.
You're afraid of rejection.
Yep.
They're not going to love me. They're not going to be. I'm failing them as a parent because they don't respond to me in the way that I've always wanted them to respond to me. And we walk through those kinds of things. And it wasn't really so much about being afraid. It was more about what is it that I need to do to make them be the best people that they could be.
Right.
Indeed.
I agree.
Nice.
It's true. I said it should be when at that last stage of being a trusted advisor, because we find sometimes we're the last person they may come to for advice. Sometimes we're the first one, but at least they know we're there and they know the solid foundation in the Word of God. And just bringing them up in church, we started going to church and living for God when Erica was less than a year old. So they all grew up in church. So it's such a wonderful feeling knowing that they know the foundation. And if they ever stray from it, they know how to repent and how to get back. And that just warms my mommy heart. That's everything, that they know God for themselves.
Yeah.
Those stages are critical, though.
Yeah, I think if you're not taking notes in the chat, the stages, you start as a disciplinarian, then you move into the trainer, and then you are the coach, and then you are the trusted advisor. And those 4 stages
It's very good.
are extremely important.
You know, really consider that the training aspect of it, too. Fix your bed. This is what you're expected to fix your bed. You brush your teeth. Homework. These are the things that you have to train them to do. And by the time they get in their teens, now they'll be fully fledged in what the expectation is at home.
Yep.
And certainly we're not Gestapos, so you can't. Everything can't be rule based.
Yep.
Everything cannot be that way, because one of the things that at least I've seen is that if you just are constantly putting your kids in timeout, or you're constantly putting them in a space where they've done something wrong, that really doesn't help if they are always in trouble with you, because they will always continue to get in trouble with you. There's a space where you got to have a level of grace, but you also have to have a level of expectation. That's why the discipline is so important early on in their life, because it's now they understand who you are and what those expectations are.
That's really good. And I want to ask a follow-up. And the studio is welcome to interrupt and ask follow-up questions. And we're going to get to a lightning round in just a second. Okay. And we're actually going to talk about that topic of discipline in just a few minutes when we bring up somebody else in the hot seat. But I do want to ask this question. What we can't hyper discipline our kids, but we also can't want to just be their best friend. Like, what would you say to those parents that have a hard time, and you mentioned it previously, like they want their kids to like them. They want to sit on the couch and watch the movie, and they want to be best friends with their kids, and they're trying to maintain this friendship with their children.
When I had to say no, when it felt like all the other parents were saying yes, or I was the unpopular mom, or we were the unpopular house, I would tell them, and it went over really well, that I can only do what God allows me to do. You belong to him. He trusts me with you. I can't do anything past what he allows me to do. And he's not leading me to let you go to a sleepover at 3 years old with the preschoolers.
He's not leading.
That's I'm going to save some of the questions that are in the chat for the lightning round, because there are a couple coming in. So I think that's important. Did you find, Eric and Dee, at times that there are, with those stages, there's times where maybe you're good at, like one of you's good during one stage, one of you kind of lacks, and the other person has to pick up the slack in the stage. Like someone's a better disciplinarian, someone's a better trainer, someone's a better trusted advisor. Do you find that there's that dynamic in the home?
Well, there's definitely a dynamic in the home, but I think also the reality of it is that you also have to identify that you both individually come from different backgrounds and what discipline looked like.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to have a conversation about that, and you have to model those two different types of disciplinary aspects together. Right. So what is conducive and what works for the both of you. Dee's a tougher disciplinarian than me. No, I don't do all of that. You know what I mean? It's, you don't have to, never mind. Anyways.
Yeah.
She was more effective in that way. For me, it was more effective. We need to have the conversation. You need to understand why you can't do what you're doing. So you're going to have that tension, but you have to have that conversation within yourselves so that you can both kind of coordinate this together.
Yeah.
Because in parenting, the days feel long, but the years are short.
That's actually good. It was a long day in my house, let me tell you.
And the tension, I think the largest tensions rose with early discipline, because like he said, we were brought up two different ways. So our go-tos were completely different. And it was really tested during potty training.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a tough season, huh?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Do you have more to say?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you get to the next one, man.
No, you're good, man.
Lightning
You're
round.
rolling, man. Lightning round. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's go.
He's rolling,
we got some
man.
questions. We got some questions.
He's in it.
One question came in. How do you teach your kids the foundations? You had actually talked about teaching them foundations. What tips, tricks, tools did you use to teach foundations? Anybody in the audience, in the studio, can answer that question. In the chat, let us know what you think.
A tip or trick that I used was taking big advantage of that early stage when during the discipline, when they were 0 to 7 years old. That's the age where they believe everything you say. When they don't know anyone but you, they're not even in school yet. I just filled their hearts and their minds with scriptures and what God can do, and nothing is impossible, and you can do anything. And that's all they knew. what I was telling them and what Sesame Street was telling them, and bringing, and it worked out really well, you know. As they're adults now, one Christmas they were sitting around the table and they said, "Mom is the biggest hype man ever," you know. So
that's awesome.
Well, she is.
But when you start them when that's all they know and they're a sponge.
Yeah.
Take full advantage of that.
It's a good answer. I just want to quick welcome Both Sides Media to the chat. Wagner Craig is in the chat. William Talton is on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Janelle Jansen, who happens to be my sister, is also watching. You tap me. Osea?
I was just going to say.
Osea's going to answer the question.
Yeah, I was just going to answer the question because I'm kind of in the stage right now. I actually was intentional about writing down what were my morals and what were my values and what I wanted to instill in my son.
That's a good idea.
And then just practical of like what I stand for and what I want my son to stand for. And Pastor talks about like envisioning, like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
So essentially that's what I'm doing. And then I kind of implement that, like, even if it's spending time together, you know, so when those discipline times, when you talk about those discipline times, they mean more. And he knows that I love him even in discipline. So
that's good. Scripture says write it down.
For sure.
Write it down. It's powerful.
Osea, I'm going to ask you another question that came in just because we're in the lightning round. We can ask anybody. How do you manage to stay consistent in the discipline stage?
I hold myself accountable.
That's
that's literally, I set alarms. I decide church is foundation. We're coming to church on Sundays, and I'm a calendar. Anybody probably in the chat knows. Yeah. I'm a calendar person. So literally I plan out like what we're going to do and spend those family times together. Cause I think it's in those moments when you're spending the family time together, that's really where you're growing that bond. Exactly what you guys are talking about. So in that discipline time, I'm teaching my son, okay, we're going to go out as a family, and you know, he might have some like meltdowns, but this is the expectation. So when we get into those training periods and we have those conversations, I have something to refer back to. So
love it.
Oh, Osea don't play.
And we had another question come in. We are just rolling with the lightning round. So keep sending your questions in. We're going to try to get to every single question tonight. So send them all in. How do you balance the grace and the discipline?
How do I? Well, I simply look at it like this. For me, I look at, and not to get super spiritual deep, but I look at the grace of the Father, and then I say to myself, well, the same grace that the Father has shown towards me, that is the grace and the discipline I must show to my children. And then when you really identify with yourself and you know yourself and you know the patience that God has had with you.
Right.
When you deep down know the patience that he has had with you, then it will allow you to have that level of grace and also that level of understanding, because in many cases, children, they don't know. Right. And God has allowed us that level of grace because of our ignorance. And that's where he reaches down and he meets us there. And it's really about being understanding, knowing what is measurable, what's tolerable, what's too far, and what's enough.
Yeah, right.
And what's enough.
And with what's enough, once I discipline the kids, we sit and we talk about what just happened.
Yep.
And then we move forward. It's enough. It's over.
That's good.
Yeah, you have to let it go.
You got to let it go.
Gotta let it go.
That's really good. That's good. We are going to close out this lightning round. There's going to be more, though, so chat. I know you're getting anxious. Don't worry. We're going to get to your questions. Kaylee Argena, I see it. We're not going to answer this, but I'm going to just give us a little precursor for a future question.
Should we swap out the hot seat as you're doing
Yes. As we're doing this, the hot seat is going to swap out.
Yep.
Kaylee, we're going to answer this. We are just about to start potty training our almost 3-year-old. What would you recommend the best way to do this? Pray. Pray and put...
Their 3-year-old is a boy, yeah?
Yeah.
Cheerios in the toilet.
Cheerios in the toilet.
Target practice. Telling you. Make it a game.
Listen, Luke,
big.
We're going to section 2. Section 1 was we had section 1 we titled Choosing to Cheat. I don't know if we nailed the topic all that well, but the conversation was phenomenal. It was probably
I thought it was great. There was some
amazing.
gold in there. Hopefully you're taking notes.
There's a lot going on in the chat, which I'm really excited about. Luke, I want to talk a little bit about adding value as a parent.
Yep.
Great book that I was reading was The Power of a Praying Child, I believe it is called, by Dr. David Ireland. Phenomenal book. We'll link it in the show notes, which I love to say. We're going to link it in the show notes. Power of a Praying Child. Someone's going to put it in the chat on Instagram because you can't link to the show notes. But here in the podcast world, we're linking to the show notes. He talks about adding value to as a parent. So as parents, like Luke, you and I, we offer value to our kids. And one of the things he talks about is praising more than criticizing. And he talks about like self-esteem. You have to actually look at the ratio of your praise versus your criticism. And if you actually take into account the stages that Eric and Dee just taught us, when you're in the disciplinary stage, it might be very daunting to look at the praise and criticism.
It's so correction heavy.
It's so correction heavy. And so you don't want to go to bed depressed. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, I criticize my child all day. But keeping in mind, self-esteem is built through our praise versus criticism, the ratio, which I thought was so profound. And then the last one was engaging with their activities. How do you do with engaging with your kids' activities?
I try to play Roblox with my son, and I'm clueless.
Yeah.
And my daughter is super into like fantasy anime and dragons.
Yeah.
Which I happen to be into, but she goes off on these weird stories, and I'm like, It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then my other daughter just wants me to watch her do like her back handspring.
Yeah.
And applaud.
No, there you go.
You know?
Yeah.
So
yes. It's amazing.
Like a lot of things in life, like you fake it until you make it, and then you realize, oh my gosh, that's my kid. I love that.
Amazing.
I love it.
Love
I wasn't into it at first, but you know what?
Here
I'm
we are.
sold.
Yeah. Well, chat, we are here with two new guests to the, what I guess we're calling
On
the
the
hot
hot seat.
On the hot seat. In the hot seat. We have got, are you ready, Instagram? We have got Ron and Stacy Porter joining us. You can show them. Oh, there.
Cameraman sleeping.
Man, Carson is just asleep. I mean, that was amazing. We even posted a question on our Instagram. Did you do that on purpose?
That's what distracted me.
Okay. All right. So now, hey, there's a question there. When you notice your child starts steering away from God, how do you help them steer back? That's going to be the first question that we ask you.
Oh, wow.
Because it's posted. Since it's posted,
Welcome
we have
to the hot
ask.
seat. Yeah.
So welcome to the hot seat.
Should we ask them the question first? What makes your family unique?
Yeah, before we get to this, we're going to ask the question, what makes the Porter family unique?
Well, I could take it.
Okay.
I think, we're a blended family. So I was single until I was 40, and then I met Stacy.
Where did you meet Stacy?
At church.
Let them know.
She was serving in kids. She
Yep.
was serving in the kids wing. I was serving. And actually,
Check in.
Pastor Josh said,
Dude, if you are
Great
single,
spot to find a
if you are
spouse.
single and you need to find a spouse,
What better place?
what better place than kids check-in?
yeah, and Pastor Josh said, hey, you should ask Stacy out. Flat out.
Sure did.
And I said yes.
And you're like, yeah, I think you're right.
So I asked her out.
And then
but-
like 2 months later, she said yes.
Yes.
No, I asked her out
No, I mean, like-
yes.
Oh
yes.
yeah, we got
Yeah.
we got engaged. We got engaged very quickly.
was awesome.
Which meant I became a dad to a 6 and a 9-year-old immediately. So
Yeah.
I went from like being a single guy with a whole lot of time, and then all these people just showed up in my life, and like it's one of those, like that first week is like, oh, you guys are gonna be here every day. And Stacy was a single mom, really, before, obviously before. So we went from that experience where she was the only disciplinarian
Mm.
person, like parent in the
Yeah,
in the
and
world.
I'll share the best piece of advice I got from someone before we got married was from actually Grace and Patrick's grandmother. And she said, you need to step back and let him be a parent. So let him parent the kids. It might not be the way you expect it to go, but he's got to kind of learn that on his own. And so it was rough that first year for me to I'm like super nurturing and all of that. And he is not.
He's not.
Just different. Way different.
Yeah. So there was a lot of as I'm watching it. And I mean, when the kids weren't around, then we would discuss it a little bit and
I'm
then
more nurturing now.
he
Yeah.
is. And I'm harder now. I'm more strict.
You guys are learning from each other.
Yeah.
I was going to ask because it would be I'm sure there's a lot of blended families actually tuning in tonight on all of our different platforms, and I know they've got questions. Someone just asked. Oh man, I lost it. So there's a question that we can do this during the lightning round, but how do you discipline your children as a divorced parent while the other parent isn't saved or consistent? So there's the blended family, trusting God, trust building and guidance. It's important for our kids. Trust in us and in our corrections. That's great. That fabric. That was not a question. So I started reading it as if it was going to be. And it wasn't, but it's great. But I'm sure, like you even mentioned, the first year was interesting, and then you went 40 years without being a parent, and now you've got middle schoolers, and then you added a newborn.
Yeah.
What was the transition like, trying to figure out, okay, now we have to be parents together, and I'm new, and what can you kind of explain that?
Well, the first time I watched our son, like by myself, when
I was at Sisterhood. I think Grace and I were. Yeah.
Grace and Stacy were at Sisterhood, and I was watching Patrick, and he he's trying to take a shower, and he's like, I need help. And I was like, no, you don't. and like after I'm like, you need to figure it out, pal. Like, and he's like, you're so bad at this. Like, he literally said, you're so bad at this. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, yeah.
It's my first day.
First day. I don't know what to do.
First day. That's amazing.
I think
amazing.
It was a lot of coaching too. I want to say, like, we would never talk about things in front of the kids, even
smart.
if I didn't maybe agree. I wouldn't say anything, let them handle it, and then maybe we would talk about it later. And I'm an educator, so I kind of have that part of it. And I would maybe share with him why, like, when I discipline the kids, I don't throw something out right away that I can't follow through with, because then they're just going to learn, oh, they're not going to follow through with it.
Yeah.
So instead, maybe just say, I didn't agree with what you did. I need to think about what your punishment will be, type of thing. And then we talk about it and come up with something we can agree on.
Nice.
That was super helpful.
Yeah. He threw out some wild things sometimes.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Grounded for the rest of your life.
Is that what you would say? Is there like
basically.
things like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
Real
there.
extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My daughter just got new toys, and I told her I was going to throw them all out today. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to do that. It was a ridiculous thing to say. But I was so annoyed. Oh my gosh.
And she probably immediately dismissed you.
I think she
Or
stopped
did she
talking.
panic?
She panics. Wes would have been like, "Okay, dude."
Is that one
Yeah, and be like, "Yeah, sure, go throw them out, Dad." Anyway, I was going to say one of the things I like about Ron, if you don't know him, guys, on the internet, Ron, you have kind of championed the adding value to your kids in the ways that Luke and I were talking about. So I kind of want to ask you guys about this when it comes to like engaging with their activities. If you follow Ron on Instagram, he posts more than you.
Yeah.
You see a dad who is engaging in activities, from rock walls in the basement to like ropes courses outside. And he's only been doing this for a year. It's like, it is what it is, guys. But can you just explain like what being a dad kind of means to you and why you've decided I'm just going to jump into this thing?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to be a dad, so I had a lot of time to think about it too. So, and I also saw a lot of things, just like my dad was always buying us like 4-wheelers and stuff. Like, I grew up on a farm, so there was always stuff to do that was physical that we could just go do. So I just decided early on, I'm going to go to as many games as possible. Like, I want to encourage them as much as possible. If they want to play baseball, I'm going to go get all the stuff, and I'm going to make it so that they can practice in the yard, they can work out in the basement, they can do like things that'll make them physically strong. Like if Grace right now is into archery and axe throwing, I build an axe throwing thing in the backyard because Pastor Luke has one, and
You're welcome.
And Grace loved it. So like, I just want them to, if they're excited about something, I want to encourage them to do it. I want to let them be bad at it. I want to walk them through being bad at it. I want them to work through how to get better at something. Cause like, you're not good at everything when you start, but if you keep at it, you can be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of those types of things are really why. And plus like when their friends come over, I want our house to be the cool place.
Yeah.
Like I want our house to be the place where when their friends are there, they want to come back, so that I can influence their friends.
Yeah, and he's so good at that. Like we had a sleepover for Grace's birthday party a few years ago, and I'm super introverted, like homebody, don't really want anyone there. And he's like, no, we need to do this. And it was really eye-opening for us and who her friends were. And, you know, me being the person I am, it's like, oh no, we got to get her all new friends. And he's like, no, like, let's teach her to influence her friends. So when there's fa la la or different things going on at church, he's really good at encouraging her to then invite her friends, and have them come. And he's also really good too, like with Patrick, if he doesn't view himself as being good at something, he just doesn't want to do it. And so that's just an example. Like Ron will specifically do things with him to show him he can do it and to push him a little bit further.
That's really cool. I love that. I think we can like move into the lightning round.
Yeah, let's go.
There's a bunch of stuff coming in that I don't want to lose. I'm just going to go right for it because someone's asking on YouTube, how do you navigate bringing a new man into your children's life? She says, please tell me there is a handbook.
So it's interesting. When I was going through my divorce and I was not in a place where I wanted to meet anyone, I wanted to just do my own thing. And my therapist really encouraged me to write down, even though I didn't want a husband, I didn't want to move on, write down the things that I would want in my next husband.
Love that.
And I did that. And at the top of my list was someone who doesn't have kids, hasn't had kids, but really wants to have children and will love my children as he loves his own. And so it literally, it was just a God thing. And Ron also kind of made a list of what he wanted in a woman. And it was so funny when we met and showed each other our list. It was actually, I was with Carrie and Kelly and Jackie at a First Wednesday here, and they're like, oh, what would you want? And I'm telling them, and they're all looking at each other like, we know this guy. We know who he is. And then when he showed me his list, that was me. So it's that power of just writing things down. And I didn't force him on my children. It was just a God thing. They just all fit together. There's no secret.
It's cool.
Pray.
That's awesome. Rod, how did you experience being the new person in the family? Were you scared?
No.
Okay. Just really wanted to hear Ron say that he was scared.
It was hard though at times because we kind of had our own inside jokes and memories and things like that. But
yeah, it was like, I mean, it's just like meeting any new friend. You just find out about them, ask them questions, you learn about them. Like I've always treated kids like people. So even like nieces, nephews, kids at church, like it's not like I haven't been around kids. So there was some, Patrick was super easy. All I did was bring him a couple baseball cards of his favorite baseball player, and he was my best friend. Grace took a little bit longer to not win over, but she was just hesitant, and that's just more of her personality. So it's just more showing interest in things that she was interested in.
And you've always been really clear with them that you're not there to take the place of their father.
Yeah.
That's not your purpose, but you love them as if they were, and you think of them as your own.
Right.
Yeah.
I would assume that in the comments, and Josh has them in front of him, but I'm assuming in the comments that there's probably some questions around how you two navigate the fact that Grace and Patrick, for much of every week, or however the rotation works, are at their dad's with a different set of values and a different schedule, and it's different. Like, how do you navigate that, and how do you help them navigate that?
It's hard, especially they're going to a home where their parents are not saved there. So, they don't get that church experience. It's really only every other week. But that's why we try to stay involved with other activities that are going on. Our number one thing is we do not talk badly about their dad in front of them. I'm starting to learn with Grace. She knows how to manipulate a little bit. So if there's an odd story, to maybe go straight to their dad to see if that's completely what's going on. Trying to think of anything else. We try to stay on page with their dad about like discipline, electronics, and all of those things. I will say, I don't know, we make it work. When they come home from being at their dad's, it's hard, you know. They don't see their dad probably as much as they would want to, obviously. And so it usually takes like that first night, we each have to take one child and just give them one-on-one time, whether it's just laying and talking with them or going for a drive. And then usually we get them right back to, you know, themselves. It's interesting, but we somehow manage, and it changes. Sometimes that works. Sometimes they need something different. Sometimes they come home and they're fine. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Cool. It's a very interesting dynamic. There was one more. I think it said disciple. I don't know if they meant discipline. Let me just see what. Oh, she changed it to discipline. I think you mentioned this a little bit, but Ron, but it's a question geared towards you. How do you discipline a teenager as a step parent?
Same as I don't treat her as a stepdaughter. I treat her as my daughter. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, and like Eric said, like I'm not there to be her friend. I'm not there to be like we're trying to raise great human beings. That are generous and kind and love God and serve each other and all that. So it's the goal isn't to be your friend. It's to be your dad.
Yeah.
And you know, she's my daughter.
Yeah. It's cool.
That's huge in our house. We don't really use the whole step thing.
Yeah.
It's bonus dad, daughter.
That's cool.
Merritt's their full sister or brother. They have a sister, Nora. That's their full sister.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That's probably a healthy way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready to move to the next section?
Yeah, I think we need to. Ron and Stacy, thank you for joining us. Studio, how we feeling? How we feeling out there? Osia's feeling great. I cannot see. I can see
excited for the hot seat.
You guys are doing great,
She's
looking
excited.
great. Gordon on the 1s and 2s over there on the video switching, just doing a bang
Gordon's
up
looking
job.
a little tired with a
so
newborn in the
chat, what you
house.
need to know is that Gordon just had a child hours ago. 3 weeks ago. It wasn't hours. I was just joking.
Probably feels like he just got home from the hospital.
So bought in. But we are just excited. Thank you for helping us. Carson is on the Instagram Live mobile camera, which is why it's going so well. So, Carson, great to see you. It is going well.
Carson.
You're doing a great job.
You are a human gimbal.
You are a human gimbal. Yeah, your hands are going to be so sore tomorrow. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm going to skip my workout tonight as well.
Josh,
so we're on the same
skip your
page.
workout.
Listen, Luke, we are moving into our third section. We're crushing time right now.
17 minutes
I think
left.
we're doing okay.
Big Q&A section at the end.
Yeah,
so keep the questions coming.
Always Q&A. So just keep the questions coming. As you can see, we are answering them, people. Luke, maximizing ordinary moments with your kids. Just the ordinary moments.
Yep.
You know, what do you think?
It's that cliche word of intentionality, but it doesn't hold any less truth. Every little moment that you can get, especially individually. I really, Ron and Stacy really emphasize the fact that you need to treat your kids as individuals and not just as a collective group because it's more convenient.
Yeah.
So those intentional moments and they're ordinary moments. Like, we were making baked mac and cheese a couple hours ago at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have said, I'll call you in when it's ready.
Yeah.
But I chose to make it intentional. We put on In the Heights soundtrack, blasted it in the kitchen.
That's a good one.
Hayden's got the apron on.
Yeah.
She's dancing around. My wife comes in. She's, it's just, it can create a moment if you just add a little dose of intentionality.
That's pretty, I was reading, I don't even know what book, I think it was in the Patrick Lencioni book. We'll link it in the show notes. He talks about keeping the goal in mind. And keeping the goal in mind. Like it's about keeping the goal that this is for my children. Like this is about my kids.
It's not about me.
It's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me trying to lecture my child and give them this big, huge soliloquy about parenting and why they need to listen to me. No, just like it's for them. Like help them.
I mean, I did that the other day.
Are you kidding me? I do it probably daily.
I was super proud of myself, and then the next day I'm like, what?
So just if I can, I don't know. I don't want to kill all the time, but we went so. Our 9th anniversary is tomorrow. Okay, 9 years, pretty wild. And so with 3 kids, you barely get time together. So we've got like a little date tomorrow afternoon, which we're really excited about, and I'm gonna take Esther shopping. It's great. Okay, it's fun. So we did the pre-shop shop because my wife needs to process. So all the kids are with us. Yeah, it's a thing. I didn't know it was the pre-shop shop, but it turns into it.
I don't even know what that means. I'll ask you
You
later.
go shopping, you try things on, and you go and sleep on it.
Yep, I do it.
And then
Okay.
you actually go out
Again.
and then purchase it.
And then doing
Absolutely.
big purchase days tomorrow.
Sounds wise,
Birthday.
but
Anyway,
It's
our
brilliant.
kids were with us, and they were absolutely belligerent in the store. And I was like beside myself. You know, you could imagine.
yeah, you get wound up with stuff.
Oh man, it's just like, can you please just act human? Like just for like a couple minutes, let's just act human, and then let's go from there. We're gonna start at the bare essentials.
How'd it go?
I am human. Not great. I took the kids to the car, and I just waited for Ezra to come out. It was horrible. I said no speaking until we get home, which didn't work.
No.
No.
It was
They'd be like,
just
Daddy.
a
I'm like, no.
train wreck.
Yeah, it was bad. So anyway, maximizing ordinary moments. It was ordinary. So I'm a work in progress. But anyway, I'm excited about the next guest in the hot
Yes.
seat. I'm really excited about this. Instagram, you know her.
Carson, you're so gracious.
She serves on our worship team. She's one of our worship leaders. It is Osea. Let's have a hand
Hi, y'all.
for Osea in the chat. Let's give it up. Osea, how we feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good.
It is so great to have
feeling
you
good.
on
Thanks.
in the hot seat. Can you answer the question for us? What makes your family unique?
I think what makes my family unique is we're energetic. It never stops. And I'm a boss lady.
yeah, you are.
Hey.
Like, I had to think about that. I'm like, man, I'm a boss lady.
There
Like,
you
you know what I mean? I
Yes.
think that's what makes us unique. I'm a single mom, and we constantly are on the go. My son, Daniel, is super energetic. Like, he doesn't stop. He beats the Energizer Bunny. And I'm just constantly, like, in the community with Daniel, exposing him to things, and we're just going. We're always going, and we're just, like, full of life. And I know every kid movie.
Nice.
everything on
What is currently the best kids movie, would you say?
Okay, so
Yeah.
right now on Netflix, it's called Morphle, this creature that morphs into stuff,
Interesting.
Okay.
and Space Jam,
Ooh,
The
a
new
new
one.
legacy?
The new one.
Okay.
the new one.
It's the jam right there.
Yeah.
So awesome. Now, Osea, you've been serving on the worship. How long have you been coming to the Father's house? Let the
So
people know.
I would say I'm in my third year.
Third year.
I
Nice.
hit the ground running.
You
Yeah, you
did.
did.
Because you started serving on the worship team.
I did.
And it's really cool because every time you're on the worship team, like, I mean, it's all happening.
Yeah.
It is there. Can you kind of explain why like church has become kind of an important aspect of your life and your relationship with your child?
So when I was younger, I had a connection with God. I wasn't necessarily raised in the church, but I always knew that was something that I wanted. So throughout high school and then college, I was bouncing back and forth in between church and stuff. And as I got old, once I had my son, I was like, okay, Osea, like, this is it. So essentially, like, I made that my foundation for DJ and I to, like, be in church. So DJ started coming here when he wasn't even 1 year old. And I was like, you are going to be a church kid. I always wanted you to be a church kid. And DJ is a church kid. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? When we have praise and worship rehearsals on Sundays, DJ's here. He's running around like crazy.
Yeah.
People are just holding him, playing with him. But I wanted that foundation for him because I knew what the foundation could do for a child, just to put them on the right foot.
Yeah.
So that's essentially kind of like my story of,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. What would you say this might be a hard question, but I mean, right now it seems like Rochester, we've talked about it in church, like being a single mom in Rochester, it's almost like as a city, it's a super high population.
For sure.
It's there. It's not talked about enough. There's a lot to navigate with it. My sister is a single mom. She's been in the chat the whole night. She's got a son, Roman. Have you met them?
No, Esther talks about him all the
Oh my
time, so I
God.
feel like I know your sister.
Yeah, that's so funny. So I know kind of the navigating that world is just a lot different than having a spouse and two parents, and you can partner, and now there's a
Right.
dad and there's a mom, and now you're mom and dad, and
Yes.
it's about to go down.
Yeah.
But what would you say, being a single mom, what would you say is the top priority for your family?
I think the top priority for my family is God. I know that sounds cliche, but like I have, like, the amount of times that I've cried to God and just, like, literally just had those one conversations with him has been the most as a parent. Because, like, for me, being a parent is exciting. There's like worry, there's fear, but all together, like once I have that conversation with God, it's amazing. And I think I ground myself in that. Like I get up and I pray. I'm making sure now I'm that praying parent that you used to make fun of, like people used to make fun of back in the day, like that person's off. That's me.
Yeah.
Praying for my son and just praying to protect him, praying that he's like on the right path. And I think as a single mom, sometimes for a long time, there was a lot of shame to that. There was a lot of shame of even coming into the church and being like, I'm a single parent. He doesn't, like, where's his, like, father? He's not in the picture. And I had to kind of let that pride go and know that, like, I am God's child, and that's not the way he sees me. Right. And that's, and I mean, Daniel's here, and he's not going anywhere. So that's the way, and God wants him there. And I had to put biblical fact is like, it is my job to make sure that I am stewarding him and raising him in the right direction. Yeah. And if that's the case, I have to humble myself and just come and bow down to God. And I think that's kind of, for me, my journey and getting here and making sure that I keep God first. Yeah. It's literally, I will be like, you're going to go back to where you came from, and that's him, not me. You know what I mean? Like, I have to make those jokes and stuff. But that's essentially how that works for me.
Oh, Sia, you're such a boss.
I am a boss. I mean,
amazing. I love it. Now, let me ask a follow-up question. Like, it's so amazing that, like, the theology that you're embodying is, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I've been created in Christ Jesus for good works. DJ. Yeah. That I should walk in them. Absolutely. And I know anything that I lack, God, you're going to make up for. Like, you embody that. Talk to us a little bit about the hard days.
I remember when DJ was a little baby, and this is how you know God, like, syncs things up. I remember, like, sitting on my floor, and just bawling. And I was like, God, I cannot do this. I can't do this. And I remember my son crawling to me, and, like, it was so weird. Like, he put his hand on my face, and then it was like, you're okay. And I knew that was the Holy Spirit because it counteracted all the other negative thoughts that I had. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do to ground myself? And literally that small thing that you just said, like, I can do all things, I literally walk around the house and say, I can do all things. I can do all things because it's mind over matter. And I think the thing that we had talked about before we even got on is that I'm always on. You know, when you get those times to yourself, it's very rare as a single mom. So I have to find those tools to get me through. And if that means me looking crazy, walking around the house saying, like, I can do all things. Lord, I don't know how this rent is going to get paid, but I can do all things. That is what I stick to. Lord, he is having a tantrum right now. Please don't let me go off. That is exactly what I do. And it's real. Like, God, I'm embarrassed in the store, but I can do all things. And then he gives me grace to deal with it. And I think it's true. Sometimes you have to just be put in that situation to really understand, like, he's right beside you and he has your back. And I've been tested many times going from court to trying to figure out to get to church on time, to work on time, daycare, and he's always there. And and it's weird to say he's proven himself, but it's like, he's always right and he's always on time. Yeah. So that's how it's cliche, but, like, I write it down. I mean, I know some people, I've tattooed beloved on me, like, to remind myself that I am his. And to remind myself that my son is his and that he is my gift. And everybody that I talk to always knows DJ is my other half.
It's cool.
Always, yeah.
That's cool.
For sure. That's it.
Love that. We love having you guys involved. We loved having him run around. He runs around the stage. He just does his own thing. Awesome. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. Melissa Lucky said they love having Daniel and kids when she's here. Someone else, New York, NY Baby 91 says hashtag eyebrows on fleek.
Thanks.
So,
hey, boo. I did it myself.
Very cool. We're going to run out of time on Instagram, so I want to make sure we get to a couple more questions. So here we go. I'm going to ask questions. They're going to sound random. They're not always, like, in the right things. But we had people email us questions because, I mean, they're just coming from everywhere, apparently. So how do you get your children back? And Studio, you can answer this too because you guys actually have teenage children. How do you get your children back involved with the church and their faith? My daughters used to be very involved and enjoyed coming to church, but now as teens, ages 15 and 13, they have chosen not to attend. I want to respect their right to choose. She put that in quotes, but it is hard and it breaks my heart. Thanks.
Well, I'll take this one because we just kind of recently went through this with our almost 13-year-old. And for about a year and a half, I've been kind of trying to figure out where I belong in church, serve-wise. And God kept putting on my heart that I needed to help in youth, which is like, why youth? Like, I don't really like middle schoolers and stuff normally. And he just kind of kept placing it on my heart. And so finally one day I was talking with my daughter Grace about it and like, I think God like wants me to help in youth. And she was like, yeah, Mom, you need to do that. So I actually started serving in Greece in youth, and I actually like have her involved in it, and different activities we should have the kids do and things like that. And that's really kind of helped bring her back. I don't know if that will work in every situation, but for ours, it really did. I'll let Eric take it next.
It's working for my daughter, Stacy. Thanks for stepping into that.
What's that?
It's working for my daughter.
Yes.
12 years old, not super interested with church, but middle school and what you're doing in middle school with the team at Greece.
Thank you. And I will say too, I think we have like our family small group, Luke's family, our family, and some other families where we get together every Friday. The kids are about the same age. So a lot of the girls from that group are in youth too. And just getting your kids surrounded with other kids that love Jesus and they see it's okay. I think that helps a lot. That's
cool. Eric, did you have something you wanted to add? Okay, sweet. Excellent. If you're watching in the on YouTube and Facebook, you saw a glimpse of Carson there. He is our cameraman. We're just so excited. We're so excited.
We got 3 minutes.
We have 3 minutes
on the Instagram.
J Dow RN, she says, Porters, what do you suggest for the step parent who has a completely different discipline style than the parent? You may have missed their answer earlier. They had a great thing for this. They actually, because Ron was kind of new to the parent game, they had like kind of coaching afterwards. Is that correct, Ron and Stacy? They kind of had coaching. They never did the coaching or the, like if Stacy was like, I didn't necessarily jive with that, they never talked about that stuff in front of the kids. Yep. But afterwards, they would get together, kind of debrief, offer some feedback to each other. That's kind of how they navigated that, which was awesome. We're going to be posting this again on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook probably, so you can rewatch some of these things because the answers have been absolutely incredible. We have 2 minutes left on Instagram. Let's get to another one. Here we go.
Quickly.
Let's see. Parenting styles are different. How can I get my husband to understand the emotional state of a young woman that our daughter has become and to treat her like he would want her spouse to treat her? That's
wow,
loaded.
you really picked an easy one.
That
Josh.
was great. I'm so glad I did that. That was good. I didn't even pre-read it, to be honest with you. That was, wow.
Eric's got it.
Eric, you can navigate that one.
1 minute.
Wow.
Spit that wisdom.
Okay. What I would suggest is that you can't go back and look at how you think what normalcy is for you. You have to take a look at your daughter and individually who they are and what God has designed them to be. Because we all like to lump everything into this one bucket and say, this is how I'm going to be. And you got to go back and say, what is it the best way for me to be the best effective way to bring out and blossom this flower that God has given me? Because ultimately it's our responsibility to make sure our children blossom to the place that we want them to be. One of the things I think that happens oftentimes is we try to make our kids be who we think they need to be or who we want them to be. And we have to allow them to be who God has designed them to be. And when we can grasp that, then we can be in that set place that God would have us to be in. That's the reality of it. And in a daughter, as a father, that is effectively how she will look at how she should be treated by any man. That will be the first starting block, will be dad. And that's how she will view how she needs to be treated. At the end of the day, that's how it works.
It's great. Very
good. There's an author that I'm reading right now, and he says our job as parents is to unfold our children.
Absolutely.
almost as if they're this beautiful piece of origami, but there's this treasure that's written on the original thing. Josh, we're out of time for Instagram. What are some housekeeping things?
Yeah. Housekeeping things. There's a couple questions we didn't get to. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, there's some good
ones.
What
we are going to do, and Gordon suggested this at the beginning of the night, is we're going to monitor the YouTube comments in particular and strike up a bit of a conversation over the next couple days to keep this conversation going. And I want to invite our studio audience and all of our guests to maybe participate with us in those comments over the next couple days. So Instagram, jump over to YouTube, maybe put your comment in that. We're going to post this video and we'll manage those comments. Don't forget the importance of partnering with your church. You heard it on every one of our guests in the hot seat. The partnership with the church in parenting our children is critical. So let us know if you want to serve in the kids ministry, get to know their curriculum, get to know their teachers, come up to Josh, myself at the campuses. We'll get you plugged in, answer any questions that you may have, and maybe make some introductions with some of the great people that joined us today.
Yeah, and chat, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, we're so glad that you joined us today. Now, one of the things that all of these families had in common, even though the things that make them unique are so vastly different, all of them are deeply invested in the church. They are deeply invested in the house. You even heard Stacy say she saw a need in the youth ministry, and she's filling the need in the youth ministry. Sometimes you are actually the solution to the problem that you are seeing. So I cannot emphasize enough that as parents who belong to the Father's house, taking a step and serving, even if it's with your family, serving a kids check-in for one Sunday a month, serving in the wing, in the kids wing one Sunday a month, is going to go far and wide to impact your family. So you gotta get involved. Please talk to the team on Sunday. We'll post links in the chat to be able to help. I'm going to try to get that quick. And then I just got to emphasize, you got to do it. So make sure you find a team to serve on with your family.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. To all of our guests in the studio, thanks for taking time out of your very busy lives. We really appreciate it. Thanks for building the church with us. Gordon, roll that outro.
Yes, Gordon.